My name is Rita Condon, and I am the manager of the Obesity, Nutrition, and Physical Activity Program. And I work with Pam Mitchell and all of you on creating this farm to preschool movement across New Mexico. I'm glad all of you are here. I'd like to just take a couple minutes to go through and ask you to introduce yourselves. I feel like there's some new names on the tiles I see, and it would be helpful to just know who you are and what your center name is. So if I could just start out by asking Brianna to introduce herself, please.
Hi, my name is Brianna Henry, and I'm from Smiling Faces as a representative for Community Enterprises.
Great, thank you. Nice to meet you.
Okay.
Hey, Cynthia, can I ask you to mute yourself real quick?
Different stuff.
Or Corey, thank you. Kate and Ashley, can you introduce yourselves from Future Generations?
Hi, I'm Ashley and this is Kate. We're from Future Generations in Clovis. We're part of the pilot program.
Great, thank you. Nice to see you. Bernice?
Yes.
Can you introduce yourself real quick, please?
Hi, I'm Bernice Rodriguez, and I'm from Bumblebee Learning Center down in Sunland Park. And
Great.
I've been working with Alberto for the last 5 years through Healthy Kids, Healthy Preschool, and now we're happy to be in Farm to Preschool.
Great, thank you very much, Bernice. Whitney.
Hi, I'm Whitney Daniels, and I'm from the Socorro Head Start, and I'm part of the pilot program for it.
Great, thank you, Whitney. Cynthia?
Hi there. Sorry about that. Trying to clear off my desk and stuff. So, my name is Cynthia Niles, director of Raymond Apple Head Start and Pine Hill Early Intervention in Pine Hill. And so I'm here with Priscilla Pescikai, who's one of my coworkers too.
Thank you, Cynthia and Priscilla. Barbara? Can you introduce yourself and just say your center name, Barbara?
Hi there, guys. My name is Barb Tedrow, and I am with 3D Enterprises. We are a Gold Star Academy and Smiling Faces Child Care Center up here in Farmington.
Thank you. And you're a pilot program too.
Yes, we are. Thanks.
Thanks. Joe Ark. All I see is Joe Ark. I don't know if that's a.
She's with me. She's my administrative assistant. That's who she was in my office. She's headed back to her office now.
Okay, thank you. Anel.
Hello, I am Anel Zamora from Bumblebee Learning Center here in Sunland Park. I'm going to be working with Bernice with the pilot program. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you, Anel. And Mendra.
Hi, I'm here.
Hi, Mendra. What's your center name and where are you?
Sorry, I'm just trying to get set up. I am at Serendipity Day School in Nob Hill in Albuquerque.
Excellent. So you're a mini grant awardee, Mendra?
We are, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Of course.
Elizabeth, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I am Elizabeth Barr. I'm the education coordinator for Torrance County Presbyterian Medical Services, and I am new to the program.
Excellent. And so I'm going to quickly just ask the rest of the Farm to Preschool team to introduce themselves. Elena.
Hi, everybody. I'm Elena Paisano. I'm working with Rita and her team to launch Farm to Preschool with all of you. And also I'm your go-to for all things New Mexico grown or connecting with local farmers. And I'm here in Las Cruces with Alberto today. Thanks for hosting me.
Thanks, Elena. Alberto?
Hey everyone, Alberto Zavala, Healthy Kids, Healthy Preschool Coordinator in Southern New Mexico.
Thank you. Corey?
Hi, everyone. My name is Corey Vandergeest. I am Queen of Reports. If you ever have any issues with reporting, email me. And I am on the Farm to Preschool team with Rita, Alina, Alberto, and Catherine.
Okay, Catherine.
Hi, I'm Catherine Van Ruden, also on the Farm to Preschool team, and I manage our Healthy Kids, Healthy Communities program. So there are a number of coordinators across the state and counties that we work in that help support you, like Becky Joyce and Karen Powers.
Thank you. Pam.
Hi, everyone. I'm Pam Mitchell with the Family Nutrition Bureau. And with Corey, you'll be sending your receipts to me, and then Lupita will get them, and then you'll get reimbursed. And we'll talk a little bit about that afterwards, after the training. So good to see everybody.
Thanks, Pam. Becky?
Becky Joyce, Healthy Kids, Chavez County, and also work with Paula Camp, and she's on her way to a conference in Arizona. She's normally on here. And we're hoping to get to work with Dexter Head Start soon. They've changed directors a couple times in the midst of all this. And so hopefully we can get something going down there. We've got some things lined up that we want to help them with. So we'll see what happens.
Thank you, Becky. Karen?
Karen Powers from Roosevelt County Healthy Kids, and Alberto and I are working hard to get that contact going and to get started.
Excellent. Thank you, Karen. Well, thank all of you for attending our summer family engagement training with us. We are excited to present this and talk to you more about engaging families in your farm to preschool efforts. Next slide, please. We do want to make sure that we're acknowledging our funding sources for this work. So not only the Farm to Preschool grant we received from the Association from Public Health Nutritionists, but also our work is informed by and supported by the SNAP Ed program from the USDA. Next slide, please. So I just want to tell you a little bit about the agenda. I want to thank you for being here. We've introduced ourselves. We're going to talk about family engagement training, and family and community engagement in your farm to preschool efforts. I want to say that this is both, the training is for both pilot sites and our mini grant awardees. Everybody can use this information. For the mini grant awardees, you may have chosen family engagement as your one activity for the mini grant funding. And for the pilot sites, you are doing all 4 of the farm to preschool activities. We will share our recording after the training. And I'd like to ask you one more time, if you could just please put your center name and community in the chat, because we use this to send you CEUs for this training. Also in today's training, you'll get tips for engaging families and parents. We're going to talk a little bit about New Mexico Grown, do a little garden education activity that's going to be part of these seasonal family engagement toolkits, hear a little bit more about story time, building your take-home family engagement kits, and then answering your questions. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So next slide, please, Elena. And this is for you to talk about.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks everyone for joining. So we just wanted to start off by giving you guys a little bit of information. One of our goals is to make sure that we're we're supporting your goals in family engagement. And we know that there's many ways to do this and that you already do it. So we came up with an idea, which was to help you create seasonal toolkits for family engagement. So within each one of these toolkits, we'll focus on the areas of New Mexico grown, in other words, local food, education, that's generally going to be garden education activities. Sometimes it'll be more like an art project. This one is definitely a nature and garden one. And then ways to take that home for the kiddos. So through story time and through their environments. And what I want to make first really clear is that the toolkits, there's kind of two components to this. One, we'll be providing you with curriculum and tools. And then two, we're providing you with a list of things that you can go out and purchase to make kits to send home with each one of your kiddos for their families. So we went around and around the best way to do this, and we decided it's best to have you guys actually buy what you know you need and spend your budget in the ways you need to. And also it would be crazy for us to compile, right, dozens of these and mail them to you. So we're doing it from this perspective. So the first area that we'll talk about is New Mexico grown, and I'll go into that in a minute, but it's really about, you know, connecting local produce with recipes and nutrition education that can go home. So we'll share some of those resources with you. We have curriculum. So the curriculum has tasting lessons and recipes, and it also has like coloring sheets and things that you can print out and send with the kiddos. What we ask of you, so we'll send you all those materials in digital format. We ask you guys to actually go out and purchase the food because you know what's in your markets right now. There's no way we can say statewide, everybody go purchase peas, because that's just not the reality. So we're going to give you some options and we'll talk about that. But we've basically selected 3 products that are in season for the summer that we think that you could feature, and we have materials that match that. The second area is around education, as I said, and so we'll always provide you with a seasonal activity and a demonstration as well as an instruction sheet for how to do that. These activities can be done either at your center or you can send them home with the materials, which is the goal to do with the families. As I said, we'll supply those detailed supply lists and instructions both in English and Spanish, I believe, and then we'll give you guys clear instructions on how to go and purchase or forage or get what you need to build those toolkits to send home. The last area, as I mentioned, is around sort of literacy and environment, and so we've curated a book list, as you might be aware of. And we've picked, actually Alberto, he's like our game show host, he's picked his top picks for the season. And so he'll share with you 4 books that he thinks are perfect to highlight right now and talk about those. And then we also have some seasonal posters that hopefully you have received that will go home with each one of your kids and that you can put up in your classrooms and in your center. So really trying again to hit all of those core areas. You have about $10 per toolkit in the budget. Now, if you go over, we can talk about how to pull that from different areas, but each one of these toolkits should cost about $10 to create and send home. And again, that's all covered in your budget. We'll talk more details about that today. All right, Rita.
Okay, so the first thing that we're going to talk about is just some tips for engaging family and community. So every day you work with the children in your care and parents to work on healthy behaviors and healthy habits. And we have a couple of resources for you to share out with parents. One we call Handy Tips for Parents. And the other one is from the Family Engagement one-pager we sent out a while back. And I'd like to highlight those one-pagers in a second, but just talk a little bit about tips that we have to engage families and communities is to be positive. When you remain encouraging and supporting while working to improve children's and families' health habits, it's important to remain positive so that they continue to try. And it's helpful for families and caregivers to say, good job, or I'm proud of you when a child tries something new that's really brand new for them. To encourage kids to try several bites before they decide if they like it, of a new fruit or vegetable. They're exploring it with their hands and how they look at it and just kind of tearing it apart. And they can taste it. And if they don't like it, it's okay. but to come back to it and come back to it, it takes, 7 to 10 or more tries for someone to get used to a new taste and decide they like it. To share recipes and songs and stories and other activities related to local food, like gardening and nutrition and monthly newsletters in bulletin boards. Share those ideas so that it's in people's attention. We can't overstate involving families, or farmers or community members, grandparents in garden work days. They're a good labor force, and just to involve them and then share gardening information and traditional and cultural information. It's when people are doing an activity they know about and enjoy, those stories kind of come out naturally. Help organize field trips to local farms or farmers markets, farm stands, where families and kids can learn more about where their food comes from. Really important to connect what's growing, a particular fruit and vegetable to the land it comes from and how it grows. And then consider hosting seasonal family cooking nights in person or online. If you include local foods and partners to help teach the class, all the better. And that could be part of a seasonal family activity where you're using some of your budget to purchase local produce. So I'm going to share my screen so I can just quickly share those resources, and they're saved in our Google Drive, and we'll make sure that they're saved on the Google Drive you access through ECECD as well. So I'm just going to quickly share my screen so that you can see this one pager. So here is, oops, sorry. This is the family engagement one pager, which you've seen, and it just talks about farm to preschool and the benefits, and then lists quite a few tips and other resources that you can use. So I just want to remind you about that. And then there's a number of national resources to give you more ideas about family engagement. And then one more link just to make sure you have is, one second, is our handy tips for parents. And this is engaging families. And we'll also make sure you have this. And this is for all healthy lifestyle behaviors. So healthy eating, limiting screen time. This is things that we've talked about in Healthy Kids, Healthy Preschool. Getting physical activity, and then making water the drink for thirst. So this is just a nice little tip sheet. It's related to our Healthy Kids characters, and so it all ties together very nicely. So thank you. Next slide, please.
Okay, thanks, Rita. And so I just want to pause to say again, we're going to talk a lot about ways to build your toolkits if you're one of our pilot partners, but if you're one of the mini grantees, we really want to make sure that you see these resources as tools you can use too. So you can use them in your centers, you can send them home. Again, a lot of them are digital copies, so you can choose to implement them next year or this year. We'll do our best to kind of cover both strategies, but for those of you that are pilot sites, you have funding specifically for family engagement. So I'm going to talk about New Mexico Grown. So as I mentioned earlier, our goal for you guys around family engagement with local food is to be able to send home a local food item with each child in your center, along with an educational material that will help them to dig into that food, try it a different way, or introduce it to their family altogether. So unlike when you're doing local procurement for your center, if you remember, when you're buying something that you're going to incorporate into a meal or snack at your center, you're required to use the approved supplier program vendor list that we have shared with you. However, if you're buying for these family engagement toolkits, you can source that food from any of your local markets, farmers markets, farm stands, or any grocery stores that carry double up food bucks. So if you go to your grocery store, there's logos on everything. Lowe's Grocery and Food King are one of those that are in a lot of communities around. I know they're trying to work into actually Dollar General, La Montanita Co-op, if you're in an area that has a La Montanita or a different kind of local co-op store. And then there's a website that has all the SNAP Double Up Buck stores that you can access. But for this particular program, you can purchase not from the approved supplier list. And the reasoning for that is because you're not taking it into your center, preparing it, and then serving it. So in other words, to be a lawyer, you're not assuming any liability. You're sending it home with the kids. Built into the recipes is ways to make sure that that food is handled safely. But a lot of our families have, right, common sense. It's fresh product and our vendors are doing a good job. If you buy it from a farmer's market, I also want to say there's already food safety standards generally in place in those markets. They're just not the approved supplier program. So it's not like it's unsafe food by any means. The other thing I want to say is that if you go to any other grocery store, you can, and look for products that have the Taste the Tradition logo or that clearly indicated. If you're in the produce section, it'll say grown in New Mexico. If it's a bag of beans, it'll say it on the back. Snap a photo and you can incorporate that in with your tracker when you submit it to Pam and Corey. So again, there's one tool. This is a live link. Let's see if it takes you with me. Oh. Let's see. Try once more. No. Okay. So I'm sorry that link didn't work. We'll send it out in the follow-up, but this is a link that'll attach you to the New Mexico Farmers Marketing Association. Boop. Okay. And what it does is it's a statewide interactive map, and it'll mark every farm stand and every farmer's market in your area. You can put in your zip code or you can zoom in by county, and any farmers that have worked with the Farmers Marketing Association will be listed. It's a great tool. So if you're like, I don't even know where to start, it'll include that for every single one of our counties and tribal communities. So we'll make sure that link is a standalone in the follow-up email. And again, you can check some of your grocery stores. If you have a Lowe's or a Food King, they have a lot of local product too. The food costs for the New Mexico Grown component are actually deducted from your New Mexico Grown grant amounts, so from the procurement bucket. So if you applied for the funding through ECECD and you're like, how am I going to spend so much money on local food? This is great news for you. Buy more and send it home for the families. And you can do that from the grant funding we're providing. We can help you move funds if you need, like if you need to move them from one area to another to cover extra expenses. You will still be required to submit the expense tracker and submit your invoices to Pam. So again, take a picture of the label that said it was grown in New Mexico so that it's easy for her to verify. And then take a picture, take photos when you do these handouts to families, right? And be sure to ask them, how did that go? We sent you home with some product. What did you think? This is a great way to get some of that qualitative reporting and feedback to help you know how to do better next season. So as I mentioned, and I'm going to hand it over to Rita in a moment, but we're providing curricula for 3 different products for this summer season. Those are peas, cherry tomatoes, and melons. So depending on which region you are and which month you choose to implement, you should be able to access those at your market. We are recommending that you first go shopping, first figure out at which of these 3 products you can find in your community, and then go ahead and explore the educational resources we're going to share with you for that. And you can print some of these things and send them home with kids. So Rita, I'll hand it over to you.
Okay, thank you. So our family engagement toolkits have a seasonal theme. So this training is for the summer family engagement toolkit. And each toolkit will have an option of 3 vegetables or fruits to choose from. And you look at buying one of those fruits or vegetables to include in the family engagement toolkit with the lesson that has the recipe. So as Elena said, this for the summer family engagement toolkit, we're going for peas, cherry tomatoes, or melons. And our American Friends Service Committee partners have shared their curriculum, their lessons to include into those family engagement toolkits. So if you choose peas, include the pea lesson activity. If you choose cherry tomatoes, include the cherry tomato activity. If you use melons, include the melon activity. And then it just leads through some different lessons parents can work on with children to learn more about that particular fruit or vegetable. So we have give peas a chance. And then the next slide is for cherry tomatoes, and it goes through, it's like T is for tomato. It's an activity that kids can do. There's different activities that they can do in the garden, and also where different kinds of tomatoes grow in the world. And then the final one is the melon activity, and we will have an updated melon activity and curriculum to share with you that Elena will go through right now.
Yeah, so we've been working with our partners to make sure that we have take-home recipes that are appropriate for this age group. So this is all modeled off of the Nuevo Thursdays program, which is a program that was developed here in New Mexico to feature our seasonal products. So we have modified these recipes in take-home lessons. So this, for example, is a taste test with melons. There's these beautiful photos. You can show them how melons grow. And then there's all these very detailed instructions for a taste test. And this is a recipe for a watermelon cooler. So a drink instead of like a sweet sugary beverage, it's like a fresca. So this is one that you can send home with your families. They can try to make it. We also have this version. So you'll receive a version that is both, oops, my screen sharing paused. Sorry. You'll receive a version that's both for the classroom, one for the classroom and one for sending home. Technology is failing me today. So this is the version that you receive in the classroom. When you receive this, it'll be like a whole book. So you'll have a seasonal book of these recipes and taste tests. And then there's one-sheeters that you'll print off. Alberto's also working to translate them into Spanish. You'll stick them in your toolkit, and then your families, if they purchase watermelon, will do this recipe. The cherry tomatoes and the peas have different types of activities. There's a tasting embedded in those as well. These recipes and these lessons come from Cooking with Kids, which if any of you are familiar, they've been working in our K through 12 environments for a long time. And these recipes are tried by all sorts of kids, voted on, and they're winners. So these aren't anything that aren't kid friendly, and they are easy to prepare for any of our home cooks as well.
Thank you, Elena. It looks delicious.
You're welcome. Let me go back up. Okay, there we go. We introduced this to you in our last training, but there's also some activities that you can send home that are more passive. So this is like a coloring sheet with the melon and the letter M. You can also have them do some tracing of the melons or finding melons and coloring them. And then there's these beautiful sheets for a lot of the products that have a picture of a local farm. So you can read that to them and say, hey, they're growing them right here. So for each one of the products, there'll be different materials that you can send home. But again, the goal is that you choose one product depending on what's available in your region, and you send home that full toolkit. And we'll provide you with the links and the follow-up email. So it's real easy just to print those out and send them home.
Right, thank you, Elena. And just drawing back to, tips for engaging families, this would be a good time to do a field trip to the farmer's market or encourage, to organize that so kids really can see, or to a farm, how melons are grown or how tomatoes are grown. And certainly when you have your garden up and running, peas and tomatoes, cherry tomatoes are those things that can be grown in your center garden as well. Melons too, if you're ambitious, they can be grown too. Okay, next slide, please.
All right. So that's what we have for the New Mexico Grown, but there'll be a question section at the end. So if something felt unclear to you or if you have more questions, just jot it down and we'll answer those here at the end of the presentation. And Rita, you're up.
Okay, next slide, please. So each family engagement toolkit, each seasonal family engagement toolkit will have a project included. This, for the summer, we're making seed balls. There may be another seed art project. something that families can do together related to gardening and food, that's a different kinds of hands-on exercise. So this one is summer seed balls, and you will compile the ingredients for the summer seed balls and send them home in with the produce, the printouts of the activity that goes with the produce, and the tip sheets and those different things. So for making the seed balls to send home for family, you'll need for each seed ball kit a plastic sandwich bag, just a small bag, a 1/4 cup of compost, a 1/4 cup of New Mexico soil or clay powder, a 1/4 cup of sand, a package of wild flower seeds that are native to your area. And I'm thinking about blanket flowers or those Mexican hat flowers or California poppies, just seeds that are wild, that are used to growing in our hot, high desert environment. So you will use your farm to preschool grant funding to purchase these supplies, and remember to save your receipts and invoices. So you purchase enough self-seal bags, soil, sand, clay, and wildflower seed to make 1 seed ball kit for each child. You can get the compost and sand and wildflower seeds from a local hardware store or nursery. The self-seal plastic bags can be bought from the grocery store. I think that our New Mexico soil has plenty of clay in it, and if it's available, dig up some native soil from a nearby source. Our soil has a high clay content, which works well for making seed balls. If you don't have native soil available, you can purchase powdered clay online. The ceramic shop is a good source, and we can share that link with you if you are going to buy your clay online. So you measure and add the soil, compost, clay to the self-seal bag and include the wildflower seeds in the baggie. Parents can work with their kids to look at this, what the flowers will look like, and then pour those seeds into the soil mixture. We have a mixture, and we have directions for making the seed balls that will also be included with each seasonal toolkit and given to the child and parents to take home. So next slide, please, Elena. So here is kind of a visual of what it looks like, a visual with instructions. And this is something that can be done in the center environment as well. You can make seed balls at the center and then disperse them during the rains. So families will need a bowl, like a piece of tin foil or a cookie sheet, their wildflower seeds, water, and soil. So all that gets brought together. The soil and seeds get mixed in a bowl. Water is added to make kind of a thick paste that holds together, kind of like cookie dough. The balls are made just by squeezing them together and kind of rolling them together about 1 inch. And then you repeat until all of those seed balls are made. They need to dry in the sun. They need to hang out in the sun until they're thoroughly dry, probably around several hours, 3 or 4 hours. And then when the rains come, families take and scrape a little bit of earth in an area that needs beautification and place the seed balls and wait for the rain to come, or do it during a rainstorm. If there aren't rains, they just need to be watered lightly with a watering can or shower nozzle on a hose to dissolve the seed balls. And then keeping them moist will help the seeds germinate and sprout more quickly. So that is more information about the activity that will be included in the family engagement toolkit, and we'll have the instructions for you to print out and include with the toolkit to send home with kids. Thank you. Next slide.
I was seeing if I could pull up the instructions real quick, Rita, just so people could see what will go in the toolkit.
Yeah, there, the link is in the
There it is.
Yeah.
So it's like a little recipe. It's very clear. And I just want to say, I've seen kids also do this where they'll, like, if there's an empty lot next to your center or something that just isn't very pretty, I've also seen kids just go and throw a bunch of those and let it go, right? See what happens. And it's always really amazing to see the life that can come from these. So it's a fun activity, and yeah, it's a good way to get the kids involved in the mixing and all of that too.
Yeah, each little baggie of mixture makes about 15 seed balls. So there's plenty to do experiments, put some in a pot, put some in a raked area, and throw some out into the wild. They are wildflower seeds after all.
I also put in the chat, if you have a community college or a pottery studio, you can also ask them about clay if you're having a hard time sourcing it. They always have the powder, they recycle it, but at some point you can't continue to dry and recycle it. And so they're a good resource if you need some clay powder. Yeah. All right, we're gonna hand it over to Alberto to talk a little bit about story time and some of our favorite seasonal books.
Yes, thank you, Elena. And I'm looking at the time. I'm gonna make it a little bit shorter so we have time for questions at the end. But we're gonna talk about the books for this seasonal family engagement toolkit. And in your Google Drive, you can find a list of these several books that we recommended. So I went through all the books, and I think these are good books to share with families during this summer. And they talk about what we're doing right now, right? Which is sowing foods, growing gardens, and all that kind of stuff. So the first book I like is Lola Plants a Garden. And I like this book. This is available also in Spanish, English and Spanish, and it's a short book that can be read in like 5 to 7 minutes. This book talks about Lola, who has a poem books that she loves, and this book inspires her to try to grow her own garden. So she decided to tell mom, and mom helps her to go and buy the seeds, the soil, everything that she needs to plant that garden. After hard work and help from her mom, she is able to see some sprouts coming out of the ground, and she gets so excited that she starts working harder and clean out all the the weeds around her garden so they can keep growing. At the end, when the flowers came out, she's so happy that she invites her friends and neighbors to come and see the garden that she worked hard and was able to grow. So the reason I like this book is, one, it's again available in Spanish. Two, it talks about engaging family members and the community when she invites others to come and see. And hopefully she's at the end, she's thinking, what is she gonna grow next year? And she's inviting her friends to do the same thing. So these are some of the reasons I like this book. And again, this book takes 5 to 7 minutes to read it, and families can take the time to read this at home. So the other book is Plants Feed Me, and this book also can be read. It can be read between 7 to 9 minutes. It's not a long book, and this book talks about this little kid that he likes to eat plants, all kinds of areas of the plants. And this book, it's more like it also includes like a science, how the plants grow from the seeds. And he he talks about that he eats different parts of the plants, that sometimes he eats roots, Sometimes he eats leaves, and he talks about all kinds of spinach and different things. And he also talks about sometimes he eats seeds, and he talks about all the seeds that he eats. Sometimes he eats fruit, sometimes he eats bulbs, sometimes he eats tubers. So this book is, it's really nice because it talks about how the food grows and the different types of plants that feed us, not just his community but the whole world. And he's sharing this with everyone in his community. What I like about this book also is you can find a YouTube video where someone is reading this book aloud, and probably this give an idea to the parents on how to read this, how to do this story time with children at home. So that's why I choose this book, and it's like $7 or something, so it's affordable for your $10 per toolkit. The other book I choose is Sora's Zucchini. This is one of the favorites books in New Mexico. And this book, you can also find a YouTube video that actually the author is the one who's reading this, who's reading the book and doing this YouTube video. And this book, it's about Sora's, who she gets bored during the summer. After the third day of the summer, she gets bored and she doesn't know what else to do. She goes to the market and find these zucchini seeds, and she decided to grow them. She goes with her parents and asks for help, and the parents help her, but they're like, this is good, there's gonna be a lot of zucchini. What's gonna happen with that? And she promised her parents that she's gonna eat all the zucchini. So she started working on planting with the help of the parents. But this book talks more about what happens when you have a lot of fruit in your hands, when your harvest is really good, and you don't want this good food to go to waste. So she finds that the first zucchini that she grows, she is really excited. She rip it up, goes with the family, and this family start eating zucchini in many different ways. But it gets to a point where there's a lot of zucchini that they don't know what to do. So Sora decides to go with a neighbor and swap some zucchini for tomatoes. And then she gets the idea to do a food swap. So she goes to the neighborhood and in her community, and makes some posters, and everyone goes to her house, and they swap zucchinis for many different things. She gets really happy, really excited that a lot of people comes to her house, and a lot of people took some of her zucchini. So again, I like this book because it also engage family and community on farming or gardening. Also talks about what to do when we have a good harvest and not let it go to waste. That unfortunately, most that 50% of the food goes to waste. And they're like, oh, this is crazy. We should not let that happening. So this book, it's around $9. It's the one that is more expensive, but again, it's a really good story that includes all these things. The other book I choose is Carlos and the Cornfield. And this book talks about Carlos, who lives in Española, New Mexico. This book is also, it's bilingual actually. So on the top of each page is a story. You can find the story in English. At the bottom, you can find it in Spanish, which is really practical for bilingual families. So this one is it's about Carlos, who, excuse me, who lives in Española, New Mexico, and his dad grows corn, and the dad is trying to pass down those traditions on how to grow corn the right way, and that it takes a lot of work to make it grow. And he even shares something that we say is, "Tu cosechas lo que siembras, you will reap what you sow." So Carlos, the dad, gives instructions to Carlos on how to do it, but Carlos gets a little bit lazy. Instead of doing it the right way, he kind of do his own way because he wants to finish the work really fast. At the end of the book, they find that they grow blue corn instead of yellow corn because Carlos got the wrong seeds. So Carlos says, "Hey, Dad, I remember what you told me. Voy a cosechar lo que sembré. I'm gonna reap what I sow." So instead of sowing yellow corn, we're getting blue corn because I got the wrong seeds. And again, I like this one because it's in English. In Spanish, it's bilingual. It's a little bit longer story. It takes like around 10 minutes to read it. But I love that it's including those traditions on farming that are passing down from generations to generations. It's like $7 or something like that, this book. So it's really a good price for the amount of money that we have for each family. So yeah, you can find more books. The list of the books is in the chat. You can find it right there. It's on our Google Drive as well, under pilot program and your workbook. You're going to find it under resources in nutrition education. You're going to find it right there. So this is what I think are good books for this seasonal family engagement toolkit.
Thanks, Alberto. And as a reminder, you can purchase them for your center. You can also, show your families this. They can maybe find some of them at the library. So there's lots of ways for them to engage with these books. And we'll send the book list out with our follow-up email as well.
Yeah, the library is a really good idea. There's summer reading programs right now, and there's a lot of promotions for summer reading programs for kids right now too. So I'd like to just get like a quick hand raise. How many of you have received your posters? Can I just get a quick show of hands, or put it in the chat if you've gotten your posters? Okay, great. So I'm seeing that people have received their posters in the mail. We based what we sent you on information we asked for when we were starting the whole project of getting the posters printed. So you should have enough English, and if you requested them, Spanish posters to send home, a poster with each child as part of the toolkit. So the posters are based on the wordless books we created for early readers and centers and Head Start programs. They don't have words, they have beautiful artwork, and each wordless book tells a story about one of the healthy behaviors we work to promote. So healthy eating, imaginary play, physical activity, and drinking water, and then helping our friends and our families improve their lifestyle behavior choices too. So when you have 3 posters for each season, so each child will not get 3 posters. They'll just get one, and it's up to you to choose which one you send home. But each child will take home one of the 3 designs per season. There again, we sent Spanish and English posters based on what you said. So you will have the poster you need to send home with the child, whether they speak English or Spanish. And then the rest we also have extras. So I think that we sent each of you a few extra posters in case there's more kids or you have an event. And that the rest of the posters are for you to hang up in your center. That they have good messaging and they're beautiful to look at. So if you have your posters already, that's one component of the Family Engagement Toolkit that you have. Is there anything anyone else wants to add to that or questions?
I just want to say thank you. Gabriel on our team helped to design these posters, and they're brand new for you guys. So you're the only ones receiving these. They're really exciting and they're beautiful. So
yeah, thank you for that acknowledgement. And Elaine, that's right. Nobody else has them except for you all. Okay, so now is the time for any questions. I saw one comment in the chat about the seed ball activity and not getting any rain. I'm going to make a couple of suggestions. You can families can hang on to those seed balls until rain does happen. Wildflower seeds are adapted to harsh conditions, and that's why we made kind of pollinator wildflower seed balls, because those seeds are adapted to our area. And so that's why we want to encourage you to get seeds of wildflower seeds of flowers that you see around, like blanket flowers are really common all over the state. California poppies, I know it's California, but I've seen those flowers growing all over the state in really hot and dry conditions. But you mentioned that, families are encouraged to water their lawns. And so my suggestion is that they make the seed balls and they can plant them in a pot indoors. It doesn't have to be, all of the seed balls that get planted. Some wildflower seeds will overwinter. So if children planted them in the fall, then over the winter when there is moisture, that allows germination as well. So I don't want it to be discouraging. There's options for just planting them indoors in a small pot and using, a little bit of water to water them. Anyone else in terms of questions or, comments? I'm looking in the chat and seeing if there's anything else. Thank you to Ashley for that comment. I guess I want to reiterate, you can use your budget for these family engagement toolkits. You don't necessarily have to buy the books. You can just provide the reading list of those choices to families, and they can get them in the library or order them themselves. It's just to support what you're doing in your center or Head Start program. And then Pam, did Lupita join?
Unfortunately not. Okay.
So we're going to just support ECECD and just mention that we asked Lupita to come on and just say a few words. She's going to send a detailed email about submitting your invoices and receipts. Please do that. State agencies right now are closing out their fiscal year, which is June 30th. And there's going to be a period where there will be no reimbursements. But if you have spent money, you will be reimbursed. It'll just happen after the beginning of the fiscal year around July 7th. And then if you haven't started really spending your money yet, please do as soon as the new fiscal year starts. So starting in July, spend your money, and we'll do our best to help you, like future generations. I know that you have questions about what to buy for your garden and the supplies you have. I'll talk to you after this training is over. But if others of you have those kinds of questions about how to spend your money, getting reimbursed, the grant period, which ends October 31st, you can reach out to any one of us on this contact us for support slide, and this will be sent out after the presentation is over. So again, one more time, opening it up for questions or comments. Okay, then I think that this training is complete. You can stop sharing the slides.
So you all will receive a detailed email that has all of the links we mentioned, that has the digital resources, so you can just print them really easily, as well as the recording, like always. One last thing that we wanted to do with y'all, we've got some of our coordinators on the line. I don't know if we have time to do breakouts, but we wanted to just establish a time for our pilot centers to do some check-ins, see how things are going, make some time for us to chat on the phone as you're wrapping up one year and starting to think towards the next year. So pilot centers and coordinators, if we can just take a quick minute to huddle. I think, Corey, were you able to do breakouts, or should we do it? Yeah, so Corey's going to put us into some breakouts. So try to find a time within the next, couple weeks or month that you guys can connect and start doing those check-ins with each other so that it's all really clear and you feel supported. And then everybody else who doesn't get stuck in a breakout room, you're free to go. And again, thank you for joining us. We know it's a really busy time of year and appreciate your commitment, to this work together and to being on the forefront of farm to preschool in our state. Thank you very much.